Hey guys, my name is Abby,
Maria.
My name's Jason.
and we are Team JAMsesh. And today we'll be talking about our project, Project Vontopia. So, for today's agenda, I want to tell you guys about our research, and then after that, discuss about like the design directions that our team took. And then after that, we'll be discussing about our desirability testing that resulted in the way that we want to take our next steps of our project. Okay, so I want you to first imagine yourself as an individual who loves to volunteer, but can't seem to find the time for it. Well, Vontopia is the perfect app by the city of Chicago to help you do so. It is a gamified micro-volunteering application that will help an individual find these opportunities for a time-strapped schedule that you have in mind. The challenge that our team faced was to create an application that is both visually appealing but also grab the attention of a user to be more engaged in the idea of volunteering. And in the end, it will take on of Sarah Boulders and Jessica Lane are such a young professionals that will be impacted by this information. As Sarah Boulders is a community manager who always loves to create a positive impact on the community, but Jessica Lane is someone who is skeptical of the traditional way of volunteering. And in the end, our UX team not only provided us the personas to help us get jump started, but they also provided us wireframes, user flows, and illustrations to kind of get us started in creating the application of Vontopia. However, our team still needs to do a lot of research, and now I'll pass it down to Maria.
Thank you, Abby. In domain research consisted of the three primary factors and the drivers of Vontopia: people of Chicago, micro-volunteering, and gamification. People of Chicago work 42.3 hours a week and spend 5.7 hours a week commuting, which is higher than national average. Based on National Service and Community Service Corporation, Chicago did not meet the national standards in terms voluntary rates compared to other major cities since 2015. Micro-volunteering describes a volunteer of team or team of volunteers completing small tasks that make larger project. People have a free time problem, and this is one of the reasons for a smaller amount of the volunteering and one of the benefits of micro-volunteering. Micro-volunteering tasks will take from 5 minutes to an hour, and you can finish them through your mobile phone. Gamification is the process of integrating game elements to create motivation and to learn. The purpose of this is not to create the game, but to use game elements of the game that positively influence users to use the app. Reward system and progress tracking are game elements that encourage users to reuse the app. Okay, Jason?
Thank you so much, Maria. So for our visual competitive analysis, we wanted to see what worked, what didn't work, so we can create the best version of Vontopia. So let's go ahead and start with our direct competitors. Be My Eyes. Homepage looks extremely bare. The photo here is obscured and there's a bland nav bar. Nothing here really inspires me to continue using the app. Charity Miles. Let's start with this bold color scheme. It really caught my attention. Additionally, this texting unorthodox onboarding gripped me from start to finish. This content looks a tad bit unpolished, and this nav is unlabeled, adding unnecessary ambiguity. LB. This was a beautiful app to open. However, browsing this was unintuitive, and that's something we cannot allow in our app. Although the video content here was used to its best ability, content did everything, and the icons here was supplemental at best. So let's go ahead and check out our indirect competitors. GoFundMe. This grid layout here on the left effectively shows the photo, text, and is extremely glanceable. But if you look at the second screen here, the illustrations add a ton of charm to an otherwise bland page. Apple Fitness. So this bold color scheme definitely gripped me as well, but the legibility on this text here is a bit lacking. This icon, however, I think is a great example of effective iconography. It not only shows you information, but it incentivizes me to work, to engage with the app. Oh, I better fill up those rings is what I'm thinking when I'm looking at it. Lastly, let's look at Forest. The color scheme here is monochrome, yet it's extremely fun. Why is that? It's because of the vibrancy. The screens here are minimal, but they're explicitly clear in their purpose, which is something we definitely want to replicate in our app. So what are the takeaways? Number one, be bold with color and design choices. Standard minimal UI failed to grip me. And because this is a volunteering app, we need to do that. It's not something that people are doing on a regular basis. Number two, be informative. Eliminate all ambiguity. People should know how to use the app the first time and every single time. Number three, keep browsing simple. We don't want to fall into the trap of LB, where beauty takes precedent over usability of the application. Number four, multi-purpose iconography. Icons should be beautiful, extremely obvious in their function, and incentivize me to take action. Number five, let content shine. Our UI elements should maximize the efficacy of photos and content, not block them, not mask them in any way. So let's go ahead and start with the design directions based on these visual competitive analysis takeaways.
From all the research that we did, our team decided on 3 design principles. The first one is to delight users visually and functionally. That means that the visual element needs to be clear and the functionality that it needs to present itself. While at the same time, the application needs to unify users around a same shared goal. That means that the community base of Volantopia is a collective, not an individual. People need to know where they are coming from. It's a group effort to create a positive impact. And lastly, we need to make users care about the cause. That means that the individuals need to be explicitly shown the impact that the micro-volunteering task that they were able to complete has an impact on the community right away. That means through visual elements and micro interactions of the application showing the applied essence of the design principle. And in the end, our team were able to create 3 mood boards and 3 style tiles each. For my first one, I created a flat style and a gradient mix to kind of showcase the visual appeal that users might be more appealed towards. And at the same time showing a collective group effort in terms of the imagery and the content being shown. The next one is a comic book and pop art style to kind of put the individuals in the shoes of a superhero in a sense of what they are. Doing all these micro-volunteering activities is a superhero act, and in a way they're creating a positive impact from their dues. And lastly, this last design direction is a flat style in terms of the way that people could easily see all the UI elements and know the clear-cut visual appeal that the design direction that I'm putting at. And at the same time, it uses a lot of the elements of a community-based aspect in terms of the icons. Now I'll pass it down to Maria.
Thank you, Abby. Okay, here is my first style tile and mood board. And inspiration for this style tile and mood board I find that was how to build a virtual city with realistic elements and remind users that they are part of community. My second style tile and mood board are more colorful and with bright colors and include some illustration elements and is more visual and functional appealing. For the third one, with stronger, I choose stronger color, red and black, and as remind users that they are care about their cause. Okay, Jason.
Thank you, Maria. So for my first style tile, I definitely wanted to push the game element of this. How much playfulness and color I could get away with without compromising the understandability of that app. I have a ton of features here that really suggest the game, but I made sure to include photos to root it back into reality. But for the most part, it's very childish, a lot of colors, extreme vibrancy. So for this, I wanted to achieve the same goal, but with this additional complexity of the isometric icons, I had to tone down the colors. People did not want to be overwhelmed with additional complexity and a ton of colors, so I needed to mute it for that reason. But a lot of the elements here were very similar, very community-based. So for my last one, the heart of it is almost identical to the first one, just executed differently. The colors here are extremely vibrant, but slightly more monochrome, or because there's a sprinkle of red here and there, but for the most part, extreme vibrancy, extreme game-ish elements, and I want to see how users reacted to that. So, with all these style tiles, let's see what users thought. Let's talk about our plan. We interviewed 3 designers and 3 developers to make sure we had a diverse range of opinions. We asked them on a scale of 1 to 5, rate the effectiveness of, number 1, the color palette, number 2, UI elements. Most importantly, we wanted users to gauge how effectively the style tiles as a whole accomplish our design principles. Number 1, delight you visually and functionally. Number 2, unify you and your peers under a common goal. And lastly, to make you care about volunteering. So, of course, we got additional likes and dislikes to supplement our data. And at the end of it all, we asked our users to rank their top 3 favorite style tiles. Of these top 3, which ones have their favorite color, favorite visual elements, and most likely to use in a real-world app. And this served as supplemental information to validate our existing quantifiable data. So, what were our takeaways? Number 1, users unanimously chose this style tile, Abby's green monochrome palette, as their favorite color palette. And it was because, number 1, it was easy to grasp, it didn't overwhelm. Number 2, it represented volunteering almost to a T. Number 2, flat UI and iconography was voted as the strongest UI elements. You had the style tile with having the strongest UI and visual elements. This sparked joy, yet it was also explicitly clear in what each icon did, so extremely functional in that way too. So I picked 2 extremely insightful quotes to provide context to these ratings. Number 1, I want to feel like I'm helping someone, not playing a game. Number 2, there are so many apps that look like this. Why would I use this one? So, what does this all mean? Number 1, let's start with our primary takeaways. Illustrations need to be flat and simple. Flat because it sparks a ton of joy, it's easy to understand, and they're extremely functional and obvious in their purpose. Number 2, color. People, again, unanimously selected Abby's as their favorite, but why? When we probed, they said it was because the execution of it was perfect. They were open to selecting other palettes, but a shade here and there was the reason why they didn't like it. But being aligned with volunteering certainly did help. Less hectic and digestible for that. Number 3, game index. People liked gamification, people didn't like a game. As soon as people interpreted a style tile as being a game, they expressed disapproval. They wanted to be rooted in reality. They wanted to feel good about each action, not that they just completed a video game. So that's something I lost sight of during my style tile process. Number 4, emphasize the primary goal. This is very much a reflection of the third one. But volunteering is a beautiful thing. We shouldn't mask it with the fact that it's a game. People should know full well that they're helping and how they're helping. So, what are our next steps for our high fidelity phase? Each of us will take our own routes in how we choose to execute these takeaways. For me, I want to keep the UI playful. People responded very well to the flat and colorful designs, but the colors were a bit extreme. I need to tone those down and make sure that they don't take away from the purpose of the application. Number 2, don't overcrowd the screen. People often criticize that there was a lot going on here, too much in fact, and I need to make better use of white space. Lastly, remember the goal. This is a volunteering app first and a city building app second. People need to know that they're doing a good thing and they want to feel that every single time, not completing a video game level. And here's Abby.
In the end, I decided to pick my 3rd design, as it has a use of flat style that people enjoy and can distinctly digest certain aspects of the elements. And at the same time, I'll need to update a color palette that will be a little bit more showing of a call to action, so people could easily, then again, find the right digestibility of the UI elements there. And finally, I will also take inspiration from my other design, especially my first one, since they have a lot of UI elements there that I really wish to use in the design of my application. And finally, I need to build a design system in which I could easily build my application for further going on with this project. And I'll give it to Maria.
Okay. I decided to keep my first style tile and architectural style and elements, and but with better color contrast, and I need to include more micro volunteering elements. Thank you for listening.